Today I just want to talk about the most annoying things in XDefiant that are probably driving players away. First and foremost, the netcode, hit registration, whatever you want to call it. It's improving, but with the player base decreasing, it also feels worse because depending on where you live, less people near you may be playing at a given time, so there will be more high ping players in your lobby, which is just not a good sign in general in terms of the player base. The hit reg and desync are more noticeable as inconsistent the longer time that you spend playing the game, honestly, and they're way more detrimental to the experience on keyboard and mouse. One thing I have noticed is the keyboard and mouse players on average, in addition to being a smaller portion of the player base, are lower in game levels. Not necessarily meaning their skill level, but an indication that they spend less time on the game in general, that there's less players that are spending a large amount of time playing this game that are on keyboard and mouse on average. I'm also starting to get put in more US Central region lobbies as well and see way more players with high ping when I'm on my proper US East region lobbies. Likely Puerto Rican players, players from like the US Virgin Islands, players in different areas of South America, whose closest region is North America East, and then South Carolina lobbies. They still have high ping despite those being the closest servers for them to connect to, as well as Google Cloud services being used to try to improve conditions for all players. Something needs adjustment. Lack of content, progression systems, camos for things other than just weapon levels, more incentive to play the objective rather than just playing team deathmatch with a longer timer on objective modes, which seems to be what a ton of people do whether or not they're slaying. Annoying abilities, spider bot, firebomb, and the fact that they're just free kills on a timer essentially. You don't have to do anything to earn them, and then you just get more of them every X amount of seconds. The spider bot is more annoying than game changing or anything, and then when it's paired with other things it just makes me leave matches altogether, honestly. It's not designed well. The counters are not very good. Its hitbox is not very good when it's coming towards you. Whether or not you agree with me or not, it just makes me and other players rage quit. On top of the netcode, it's all something that kind of just builds up over time, over the course of playing the game, and you just get annoyed by all these little things that pile up. Flashbang I consider to be very overpowered. It no longer has the counter of being able to turn your back to it, nor does it have any kind of warning before it hits you and renders you a free cheap kill for the enemy. The effect really is way too long in my opinion, and I think maybe they did it. They want you to play as the GSK faction and use the ADS device, but it's just insanely annoying, just like the spider bot, especially when there's multiple enemies all using this stun and they're just stacking it. It's basic, and then on top of that you get a new one every single time you die, so a bad player or a player who wants to be the designated griefer for the enemy team can run in, throw the fucking stun grenade, intentionally die, come back with another one, keep spamming while their teammates are playing serious, and you could literally just decide, I want to be an asshole this match. Flashbangs are just ridiculous. I think the flashbangs are honestly just unhealthy for the arcade shooter genre, especially considering you get one every single life. Proximity mines are annoying, but at least you can slide, but a well-placed one right next to a mantle spot is like unavoidable. There's really no way to detect it. It doesn't make any noise, not that I know of at least. There should be something. The prox mines should beep or something. They should reward you stopping before you decide to climb over something. They should at least be counterable in some degree rather than rendering you crossing a certain area completely a free kill for the enemy. Yeah, you can slide past it, but you can't always slide past it. I'm also aware of the ability to throw an EMP grenade and disable the prox mines, but that usually only becomes a practice after you've already been killed by it once or twice already. I think footsteps and audio in general are just really inconsistent. They're either really good or you can't hear them at all. And it's like a lot of other things going on in the game. There's a lot of inconsistency that really feels like it's holding the game back in general. It's hurting casual players from getting immersed into the game, and it hurts competitive players from being able to take the game too seriously because, it's just Sometimes it's here, sometimes it's there. It's like an absentee father or some shit. I also still occasionally get this audio bug where I'm running around and it makes like the ping, like the noise as if I just got a kill or something. And sometimes it even shows the skull pop up on my screen, just out of the blue while I'm running around. It was actually a bug that was supposed to have been patched like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Funny because every update, a new patch comes out and then an old bug resurfaces. Keyboard and mouse is definitely a smaller player base, and the settings for it are less prioritized than controller. It seems like the polling rates over 1000 and DPI over 800 have issues with the game. You benefit from turning your in-game sensitivity up and then turning your DPI to 800, polling rate to 1000. And then if you want the shit to be more sensitive, you just gotta up your in-game sensitivity. I think this is the way that it is, likely because the game was just designed with the knowledge that majority of players are going to be on controllers in general. And that's just the way that video games are nowadays for the most part. There's a lot of people on PC as well, but even I would argue probably majority of the player base, even on PC on XDefiant, are going to be on a controller rather than a keyboard and mouse. There's been some complaints from different keyboard and mouse players that the mouse sensitivity feels really weird when you're ADSing, like it feels different than when you're just looking around from the hipfire view. I noticed that to some degree, but I mostly notice a difference in like your sensitivity of your camera just looking around while you're reloading. I think that's maybe to simulate slower player movement or whatever, but it shouldn't be doing it to your camera as well. It's just kind of odd. But overall, it feels like keyboard and mouse kind of was an afterthought compared to controller. And a lot of people on controller aren't noticing a lot of the issues, especially with hit reg and desync, that keyboard and mouse players suffer from even more drastically than controller players. And you could say, yeah, just switch to controller, this and that. You know, it shouldn't be about that. Really, at the end of the day, there's a ton of controller players that are noticing a lot of things about the game that are turning them away. And it's probably things that I didn't even mention, whether that's bunny hopping, air strafing. As you notice, like those aren't things that I necessarily have a problem with. I have a problem with when my sniper reticle's perfectly in the middle of the enemy's chest, I shoot them, and it's like there was a ghost there because the character model wasn't really right there. They were somewhere totally different. And it happens so frequently, you know, after you've put 150, 200 plus hours into playing the game, you're going to notice all of these little situations where that should have hit. You know, you even go back and watch the video footage and you're like, okay, I wasn't tripping. I know what it is technically that happened right there. That was desync. That was this, that was that. But at the same time, it doesn't change the fact that as a consumer, it just feels bad for shit like that to happen. So to wrap it up, yes, the player base is going down for sure. I think the game has a ton of potential, but I think that it needs to speed up the process of getting the kinks out of the game and everything. There's a lot of people who have been testing the game out, closed open betas, for the past 3 years or more. A lot of the issues that have been getting brought up even since way back then are still things in the game. A lot of things, like, honestly, some things literally could be taken straight out of the game, and I don't think too many people would hate it. Some people would hate it, but they'd come around to it. Like if you took Spider-Bot out completely until there's like an actual working counter to it. If you took out Flashbang completely until it actually deflects flashbangs and things that are thrown right near the ADS system and stuff like that, but it doesn't stop it from blinding you, even though you purposely chose this faction just to counter that, but it was all just an act of futility. Like, what's the point of me playing the GSK faction if I'm trying to stop these assholes from throwing all these freaking flashbangs? And they still work, even though I'm standing right next to the thing that's supposed to block it, and I'm still getting blinded because of whatever angle decoding in the game is just tripping. There's actually some people view-botting in the XDefiant section on Twitch, which is just crazy. They might even be playing like pre-recorded content and stuff like that, and some of them are not even showing actual content. It's just like BS, like showing like some banner on the screen. And then there's another one I saw that was like 24/7 stream, so they literally just have a pre-recorded video that's just streaming on loop. It's not looking good, guys. Hope everybody has a good one.